Welcome to the midnight tide, where shadows whisper, darkness hides. We're diving deep into the unknown, on a journey you're not alone. From haunted halls to specters lost, we'll guide you through the eerie frost, with tales that chill and spirits roam. A freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Welcome to the midnight tide, where shadows whisper, darkness hides. We're diving deep into the unknown, on a journey you're not alone. From haunted halls to specters lost, we'll guide you through the eerie frost, with tales that chill and spirits roam. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Ghostly whispers, ancient tomes, mysteries in haunted homes. Brace yourselves, it's time to go. The freaking awesome paranormal show. Whispers, ancient tomes.
All right, now there you go. Boop. What is up?
Man, you're playing the grooving jam again.
I tell you what, man. I thought if I had to push pause, I thought I'd just stop. It would just stop playing. But Randy, you got to push pause for the music to stop playing. So, yeah, you know what? It has been a day. What is up, all you freaks out there? This is Ryan. Welcome back.
Thanks.
Hi. I'm so
Sarah
tired.
is
I
back.
can't straight. Today I have the paranormal hangover from hell. Like
Tell you what,
crazy.
and of course, Rhonda is here.
Hello. I'm here.
Tell you what, we had a day at the cabin today, but it is a lot to get into, and I don't want to start because this is a lot of stuff happened. We had our friends Jess and Randy Webb and Daniel Lefevre from
Jeremy.
Beyond the Badge Paranormal come up to hang out with us at the cabin, and let's just say it was a lot of shit went down.
It was so wild.
It was crazy. I feel like I've been hit by a truck, and I was just standing there holding my phone.
We heard an audible growl downstairs in the basement. I thought Dennis was messing with us because Dennis likes to like sneak up on us and like bang on the walls or do something to scare us, and then he'll come downstairs.
Emily.
And we were hearing scratches and weird noises, and then all of a sudden you hear this, and I was like, oh my God, everybody downstairs in the basement heard it. And we got it on video.
And that wasn't the most impressive thing that happened. That was just like part of the whole like package of what happened out there. If you guys want, you can check out my live, check out the Cabin on 360 live feed. Hey Jess. To see what happened. Like I said, it's just a lot to talk about. And yeah, it's just a lot of stuff. Tell you what, I was feeling kind of worn out, and I was like, man, I gotta get an energy boost. So I drank a Mountain Dew, and now I'm like, energy's from here to like all the way out to like the moon right now. So I'm ready for the show tonight. What is up, Teresa?
Here's our buddy Teresa and Jess. Emily, Lost Souls Paranormal.
Hi.
Yeah, the Canadian connection is hanging out with us tonight. Let's get this party started. Tonight we have Larry Eissler III coming on the show. He is an author, author of Haunted Road Media. He's a director and a paranormal investigator. What is up, Shonda?
Shonda.
Hi.
Oh, Shonda. Help me, Shonda. Help me, Shonda.
We're known as on our team now. Shonda's part of my team, and we're now known as the Ondas.
The Ondas.
The Ondas.
Rhonda,
Just because
Shonda.
Rhonda keeps getting called Rhonda, and I keep getting called Shonda. So we're the Ondas.
Ondas.
Oh, you're the Ondas. Sorry, I missed Sunday.
No, it's okay.
We forgive you. How was the cosmic connection conversation, or cosmic laws, or whatever you guys were talking about?
That's just fun. It's fun, and the more we go through, and the more it's like how much they tie into each other. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, those shows are always fun. Those discussion shows are always a good time because you get to, learn different ideas and how they work together and stuff like that. So it's fun to discuss that kind of stuff.
Yep.
I would be remiss not to mention the big holiday that is today. I realized that you guys took the time out of celebrating National TV Dinner Day.
It is TV Dinner Day. I saw that.
TV Dinner Day, and we really appreciate you coming on here and talking to us. And whether you're a big fan of Stouffer's or Hungry Man, or if you're really feeling cheap, some banquet stuff, just go out and have fun. Eat. Maybe if you want to lose some weight, buy Lean Cuisine.
Yeah.
Or like Weight Watchers or Marie Callender's. It's just like show love to every single TV dinner.
Yeah, man. If you're feeling rugged, go get you some Boston Market. Like,
if you want to
Stouffer's. Nothing's better than Stouffer's mac and cheese.
Oh my gosh, or Stouffer's lasagna. Holy shit. That's the good shit right there. That is the good stuff. Or maybe if you have a kid, give them a kid cuisine too. This is for the whole family.
That's right.
So guys, go out, watch the show first, and then run out to Walmart because that's probably think that will be open after 10. Well, maybe food line closes at 11. So you guys still have time. Run out, grab a TV dinner, and celebrate. Gather around your TV dinner tree and sing TV dinner carols as you eat your TV dinner.
Sing TV carol dinners.
So again, happy TV Dinner Day, and let's hear what the cards have to say.
All right, we're back to our Halloween deck just because it felt right today. So we listened to the cards. See what they say. All right. I think we've had this one come up before. It's called The Ancestors Are Lore and Legacy of Our DNA. So I believe last time we had this near a holiday, I feel like this is more about us all kind of slowing down. We're coming into the fall season. That's when a lot of our traditions come back. So while you're looking at things that you usually do this time of year, like pumpkin patches and football and Halloween and all the things, maybe pull out one of the old tried and true things that you used to have going on with your family that it doesn't happen anymore because sometimes we forget. We get moving so fast, we forget to pull out the things that we used to resonate with when we were younger. And it's always good when you pull those out because you feel like you're a younger person. It's almost like going back to that nostalgia. Yeah, the healing frequencies of that. Absolutely. Absolutely. So find something a little nostalgic between now and the next show. We'll see what they say next.
Between now and next week.
The cards have spoken.
Yeah, the cards have spoken. I think we did that card around 4th of July. Because it was around summertime we were talking about that. The traditions of what we do. It's funny
because we're coming into the change of season again.
Mm-hmm.
So we're right in the middle of summer. So
it is an appropriate card. I think now we're getting towards the cozy season and more family oriented stuff with like Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween, all the stuff coming up. Yep. And that's when you really start doing more stuff with the family and really reminiscing about stuff you used to, traditions you guys have. And some maybe, you'll still do the traditions, but you add more traditions to it. You kind of build upon it and makes for a great time. What is up, Lisa? Thank you for coming in. We appreciate you.
Good to see you again.
Oh my goodness. So this is the time of the night where we try to educate our
freaks. We go.
We take words that could be bad, but this time it's really not. It's really not a bad word at all. But if you want to insult someone and they not know it, this is a word for you. So tonight the word that we are going to learn is Zounderkite. Zounderkite. Yes, it sounds like a weird German word, but it's not.
Almost like you're sneezing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You say instead of Gesundheit, you say Zounderkite. Actually, Zounderkite. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you say it, they might get offended.
Yeah.
What do you think Zounderkite means, guys?
Well, I mean, if it's just to mean as you're unbelievable, or is that like bless your heart?
No. Zounderkite. Zounderkite. Oh, yeah. You're an idiot. Yeah. The Victorian word for idiot.
Okay.
You are such a Zounderkite.
Sarah.
I like idiot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's Zounderkite. But I mean,
you're
idiot
such a
is so much shorter.
So, guys, with kids, everyone, if you want to call someone an idiot and not get in trouble for it, call them a Zounderkite. And you'd be like, thank you. I appreciate that. And you're like, okay, you're welcome.
So you take like, are you taking something for that? You don't sound.
That's right. It sounds like one of those commercials you see on TV. Try and do Zounderkite for asthma. It may cause you to die, but it's
hair will fall out, your toenails will drop.
That's right.
But you don't
may have explosive diarrhea, but
you can breathe.
That's right.
You can breathe. You're welcome.
Zounderkite. Yes, Zounderkite. No, I mean, let me write down Zounderkite. Zounderkite.
That's actually a good one because nobody would be able to spell it to go figure it out.
Yeah. I had to look it up, so on Google. So we are going to do the new little segment we have is the Paranormal Would You Rather. We're going to bring our guest on to join us, Larry Eissler III. Hey. Welcome to the show, Brandon. How you doing, man?
Hey, Frank.
Good. How are you guys?
Good. So we have got a Would You Rather for you. All right, Start off the show. All right, this hard-hitting questions here in the paranormal show, the freaking awesome I don't even know the name of the show. I'm so hyped up on Mountain Dew right now.
Who am I? Where are we at right now?
I'm jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'm coming at you like a spider monkey. Woo!
Paranormal, yeah. We got to chew it.
All right. Would you rather investigate a prison or an historic plantation? I'll start with you, Larry, then Sarah, then Rhonda.
Does the plantation have the seedy history that I think it does?
Any plantation. You can add whatever history you want to it. Just a historic plantation.
So not a historic plantation in the deep south.
It can be wherever you want. It can be deep south. It is your imaginary historic plantation.
I'm gonna go with the prison.
You go with the prison
for
awesome.
two reasons. Number
okay.
one, because I do film, and I like telling stories, and trying to do film stuff outside or anything, but especially the paranormal, is literally the worst. It just sucks. It's so much extra work to make it look and sound nice, only because you're outside. So there's that, and then two, I feel like for a plantation, you know, the majority of the space are these large open fields. Where do you set up in a field to investigate?
That's true.
Where do I go? A prison, I just go down the hallway. I find this room. I find the arts and crafts room, the kitchen. You know, there are designated places that I can focus on. Whereas the plantation, the house, a barn, sure, but like just endless property. Then where do I go now? So yeah, that's why.
How about you, Sarah?
I would choose the jail as well, only because well, there's a few reasons, but the big reason is because of bugs. I mean, I don't care about bugs, but like hearing them on audio sucks. And like trying to get any kind of EVPs while you're out there with bugs and other animals and all that jazz, it's a nightmare. So, and also, you know, prison ghosts are pretty fun. Not really, but I mean,
they know how to party, that's for sure. How about you, Rhonda?
Well, I mean, I have a little bit of a fondness for a certain plantation, so I'm gonna pick plantation. I do agree with the outside stuff, and not to mention like the critters that are out there. There's those and the potential cryptids that sometimes we hear some things out in the woods. But as far as the structures themselves, they are a lot of fun to investigate, and especially as you know, a lot of times there's work and renovations being done there, and they find a lot of unusual things that we get to tap into and figure out what's going on with it. So personally, me, I prefer the plantations.
I am going to second Rhonda there. I am definitely into the plantation. I don't really I'm not really worried about something dark following me home as much as I am from a prison and a plantation. Plus, I just enjoy the historic buildings of like the plantations here in Virginia, and I guess you know anywhere pretty much. So the bugs are annoying, I will admit that, and but you know, I just enjoy investigating those kinds of buildings more. So yeah, I think it was tied 2-2. Awesome.
Yep.
Very cool.
Well, right, Larry, I'll meet you at the jail.
That's right. We're going to the jail.
Me and Ron will hang out at the plantation.
And let me tell you, number one, we're not going to get rained on. We're not going to get eaten by bugs, and we're going to have a whole lot more captured than crickets.
Yeah.
I mean, they might have bugs and spiders and bats.
Yeah,
and
depends on the plantation you're at.
I can deal with bats and spiders and stuff, but mosquitoes, no.
Absolutely not.
Mosquitoes and ticks, hard pass. Hard pass.
So I was trying to think of like, should I do a prison and an asylum, which are pretty much the same. I mean, you know, kind of the same deal.
I haven't visited both, and they're almost identical.
Yeah. So I was trying to make it different.
I think the characteristics of your spirits will be different. You know, like the spiritual characteristics, because with the asylum, you have more likely chance of encountering a spirit that has mental deficiencies that have carried over. Mm-hmm. Whereas I feel like in a prison, you could still get that, but a lot more anger issues. Whereas they're competent and you know they're focused and they're very intelligent, but they're mad and they'll hurt you.
Yeah.
Whereas in the asylums, they'll still hurt you, but it doesn't seem quite as intentional.
Right.
Hurt you by accident.
I feel like there's a difference between the asylums and the sanitariums, because you know one was public funded and one was private. So like I think there's a big difference too in like who worked there and how the people were treated. So yeah, you're getting a whole different debacle when you look at the different aspects of each.
And I think that's an important thing to bring up, because it's not just we're going to an asylum. Well, what kind of asylum? How are the patients treated there? How long did it run for? Was it during the lobotomy days or was it after the lobotomy day? There's a lot of factors that make it not just an asylum.
Yeah.
They're not all the same.
Have they torn down Dijonette yet? Because they were saying that they were going to tear down Dijonette and Stanton, which is sad.
I think it's still there because we would have heard something about it if it wasn't. I think they said they were going to turn Waverly Hills into apartments, but I don't think that ever happened. So well, hopefully they won't tear it down, but not like they let anybody in there anyways.
I know, all that asbestos.
Yeah. So Larry, how did you get involved in the paranormal? What got you growing up into this awesome field?
So I had experiences when I was in high school and probably younger, but that isn't really what got me into the paranormal. Once I graduated and then went into the Army, I kind of didn't really care about the paranormal anymore. I didn't remember the experiences that I had as a kid until much later, and I was reminded, and I was like, oh yeah. What got me into the paranormal was proving that it was fake. I failed. I failed miserably.
How'd that work out for you?
Well, I mean, it worked out really well, but the fact that
Houdini of the paranormal.
What's that?
You're like a Houdini of the paranormal.
Apparently so. I started on a web forum, believe it or not. Way back in the day, we didn't have Facebook and StreamYard and all this stuff. We had bachelorsgrovecemeteryforum.com or whatever it was. And you had to go to these forums to talk to people about paranormal stuff and to share your photos and stuff like that. And I just went and tore the crap out of everybody's photos. Like, that's edited. You guys remember in 2005-ish, that phone app that would put that little girl in the plaid dress in photos?
Yeah.
How many people did that?
God.
Like, look at this little girl that I caught in a hallway. No, you did not. So finally someone got really mad because I was debunking a lot of regular stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, you could have did the fishing wire, yada, yada, yada. So they got mad and they're like, listen, you keep crapping on our stuff. You need to come out and investigate with us. All right, fine. I go on my very first investigation ever. And ironically end up behind the camera, which is where I'm comfortable at now. But I saw my first shadow figure block out the light of a doorway in a hallway. Touched for the first time, my first cold spot, my first audible voice. All this on the very first time of ghost hunting. And then from that point on, I'm like, I can't explain this stuff anymore because I was standing here when it happened. So then I tried to scientifically prove it. And then I got to the point probably in about 2014 where I just didn't care anymore. I know it's real. You know it's real. Do I need to convince anybody that it's real or not? No. Either you're going to believe it or not. It's not my job to convince you. So I shifted over into telling stories now. There are people way smarter than I am that can prove the paranormal exists. But some of those people don't have the charisma to tell a story. So that's what I do. I tell stories.
Wow.
So wow. I've been in the gambit. I've done all of it.
That's really cool.
Dang. Oh, go ahead, Ryan.
I was gonna say. I mean, it's I forgot what I was gonna say. A little brain fart there. So you can ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your most craziest story? Your most memorable paranormal experience?
So this was during the prove it phase, right? A good couple years where my paranormal partner Dan, he and I would investigate like 3-4 times a week, just going out into rural Illinois countryside to hit any cemetery we could find, just to get something. And over those years, we probably went to hundreds of cemeteries numerous times over the years. But there was one that we went to 3 times, and all 3 times we went there, something horrible happened. And you'd think you'd learn your lesson after the first time, but no, we did not. We did not learn our lessons. So the first time we went there, it is this large rural church. It probably seats a good couple hundred because it's the community church. Everybody from around comes in for this little church, right? And then the official graveyard on the property was right next door to it. So the graveyard had this chain link fence, and chain link's about here-ish, right, on us, 4-ish feet. And my partner Dan kind of went like this and put his hands over the chain link to lean on it, talking out into the ether of the graveyard. And I've got the camera pointing away from him because another investigator we were with, she had some kind of device, and we were trying to get it to go off. And all of a sudden, you hear Dan start yelling, and the chain link just rattling. And we both turn around, and Dan is being pulled into the cemetery by his forearms. And the only reason he didn't get dragged in was because the top of the chain link has the twisted wires, and it got caught on his belt. So he's here like dangling on top of the fence. Dan's a big guy. He every bit of 300 pounds, and he's like 6'1". So the dude is big and built.
Ooh.
And a 4-ish foot tall fence, and he is over it now. So we get him back inside, and I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he's like, "I got pulled inside." And he pulls his sleeves up, and there was handprints on his arms like this. And about 3-ish hours later, they went away. They were gone.
That's crazy.
Oh my God.
That was the first time we visited the cemetery. Our graveyard, technically. It's a graveyard attached to a little church. It's like Mayfield Church. It's just a little tiny community church. Well, big for the rural area, but I'm in the suburbs of Chicago, so a big church out here sits like 1,000 people. But for out there, it's a big church. And yeah, that was the first visit. The second visit, we went back, and it was me, Dan, and this same investigator again. Dan was feeling sick approaching the church. And I'm just like, if you're not feeling good, dude, just sit in the car, keep the car running. I'll go out and I'll do stuff. So me and this other investigator went out, and I'm just, taking pictures with my UV camera, just snapping all around, taking pictures in the windows of the church, because you do that, right? Like someone's going to appear in the window of the church, and they did. So come to find out, the closer that we got to the church, taking pictures of it, the more sick Dan felt. And finally, he was about to come and be like, "Hey guys, we got to go. I'm feeling really, really sick." In one of the pictures that I captured, I saw somebody standing in the window on the camera. And I'm like, "Oh my God, we're trespassing and the priest is inside. We got to go right now." So we beat feet back to the car. And as we get further away from the church, Dan starts feeling better. And I'm sitting there flipping through the camera, looking at the pictures. I get to the picture the last one I took, and I'm like, "Holy cow, there is somebody looking at us in this window, but it's not a person." Like, you can see a very faint outline of like a shoulder and a headpiece, and then somebody standing next to them. So night wraps up. I go home. The other investigator goes home, and then Dan stays at his house because that's where we met up. Come to find out that something from that church or graveyard had attached to Dan.
Ooh.
And he now brought it home with him. And it tormented him and his kids for a month or two before we finally got it off of him.
Dang.
And I remember the two things that he said that were most freaky was, one, it stood in his daughter's doorway while she was asleep. And then when she woke up, there's this shadow, blocking the light of her door, and it freaked her out. And then 2, his kids were in the backyard, and he had a swing set. And as he's looking out the window, looking at his kids, the swing would start moving and then stop, like dead stop, straight up and down. And he said after that, we gotta cleanse the house. We got to get the kids out of here. So we go and we cleanse the house with a friend of ours that did astral projecting. Again, I'm on the sciencey side. I'm like, this is bullcrap. This lady cannot do this. She's pulling our leg, but you know what? If it makes her feel better, fine. We'll do the cleansing and let her do her projector thingy or whatever she's going to do. So we start the call with her, and he and I are in kind of the porch area, or like the mud room, I guess. And we're talking to her, and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to get started now. And I'm just like, oh, okay. All right, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, get started. And she goes, okay, I'm in the kitchen now. And I'm like, okay. Just kind of waiting and listening to her talk. And then she's like, okay, I'm in the living room now. And all of a sudden, noises start happening in the living room. And I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Oh my
So
gosh.
we go into the kitchen, we kind of peer out into the living room, and we see something like smush against the blinds of the window. And then she's like, I'm chasing him around the living room. And then like the window next to it, that little swizzle stick that opens and closes the blinds starts going like this. And we're like, what the hell's going on here? And then everything that she said she was doing was happening in the house. And then like the way the house was oriented, the next door was his daughter's room. And she said he's in the daughter's room now and trying to push him out. And there was stuff happening in the room. So finally we get to the basement where she said the portal was for it to get in and out. So we Dan's Catholic, he did all the Catholic stuff to do all the cleansings and whatnot. And I was just kind of there for support. And we're standing in the basement, and she goes, okay, guys, he's out of there. I'm exhausted. I'm going to let you go. Go ahead and wrap things up. So she gets off the phone, and we're just standing in the basement. And I go, well, can we get a sign that it's gone? And I kid you not, the two of us standing in his concrete basement feel the house jump a foot. And I go, what the hell was that? And he goes,
that's a good sign.
I guess it's gone.
Oh my gosh.
And then we went back to the graveyard a couple years later.
He said, I didn't get enough of this. I want some more.
Right. And then nothing happened the third time.
Oh.
No, third time goes in the charm, I guess.
The third time we learned how to protect ourselves a lot better. Dan got more into Catholicism and how to protect yourself with all the stuff. I'm not Catholic, so I don't know anything about that. I learned more about crystals and Norse mythology and runes and stuff like that, and didn't have any issues the third time. But yeah, so
I mean, a house jumping is pretty good evidence. I mean, it's hard to beat that.
Well, I mean, and obviously the house didn't jump.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So what happened? What happened to us, and why did we perceive it that way?
That's a good question.
And it wasn't just one of us; it was both of us. You could both see us at the same time go, "Whoa!" Like our knees kind of buckled a bit, and we're like, "What the hell?" So something happened to both of us, but it's hard to explain, you know. And we never tried.
We both felt it at the same time. It wasn't like one of you felt, the other person didn't.
Right.
You both felt it.
Right, at the same exact time. So we always just assumed like, well, that's the sign. That's what we asked for. We got it. Cool. But yeah, like, what was that? Why did it happen? How did it happen? And why did we perceive it that way?
Yeah.
Nathan, you're right. Crystals are great. I love crystals.
Yes. I've gotten a lot more into crystals over the years here, and you know, I've got my jewelry, my bracelets, and all the stuff when I go investigating, and you know, they're the elastic bracelets, and they break easily. And every time like I'm on an investigation and one breaks, and it's always a protective one, right? It's always the one that's got tourmaline and obsidian and onyx on it. It's never the one that has, you know, amethyst or anything like that. It's always the protective ones. And I'm like, you know what? Something was trying to mess with me, and the bracelet took care of that. So I'm gonna just go and put another one on.
Exactly, because that's what they say. It means that it served its purpose.
Yeah.
If it breaks or falls apart, it served its purpose. And you know, I do the same thing. I have certain things that are like standard for investigations that I either wear or carry on me crystal wise. But then I also kind of always tap in before I go. Is there something else I need? Something else I need. And sometimes something really random will come up that this particular investigation we need.
Sure. I've got, you know, a slew of different bracelets depending on what I'm going into, a lot of different crystals. I've got a big leather bracelet with the Viking compass on it, the Wayfinder. You know, so I'm always good. I'm going in this direction. I can't be knocked off my path. And a bunch of stuff like that. A lot of different protective runes on necklaces and whatnot, and it works. Haven't had an attachment ever since I started that stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I go to some messed up places. So
I'm a big believer in crystals and sigils.
yeah.
Those
Yeah.
are my
I have a tattoo coming up here soon where it's a giant forearm tattoo where it's got the Viking compass on it, Thor's hammer, and then Thor's insignia, which Thor's rune is for protection.
Right.
Mhm.
So now, in case I forget my bracelets, it's on my arm,
It's covered.
and it's gonna be like this
He's
big.
covered.
It's gonna be massive. So, big protection.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like people forget about the old timey ways of protecting yourself. Talking about going to the Nordic, the Viking ways, and they kind of like get
Yeah.
relegated to the past, but they worked.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
And I think it's a great idea.
Well,
It's
You learn
and
everything you can about protection.
yeah, I mean, obviously the symbolism in the alphabet is different, but Catholicism has a lot of the same things.
Yeah.
You have Thor's hammer, and then you have the cross. You have a lot of these different sigils and runes, and you have a lot of letters and words in Latin when they're written out are supposed to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
So, they're really not all that different.
Nope.
Plus, the spirits are really old. They don't,
Yeah.
they're still around from back, even in the Viking days. They don't go anywhere. They're still around.
Just
Right.
different deities. It's
Yeah.
just different things that you pray to.
Yeah.
Catholics pray to God. Thor prays to, or the people that believe in that stuff pray to Thor. You know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
it's different things to different people, but
Right.
it all.
That's what I'm saying. As long as you have your kind of things that you believe, again, it's all about intention. Those things that in your heart of heart with your intention that they're going to keep you protective. Even like Lady Mystic Lightworker just said, simple bay leaves. If that's something that you practiced, that's going to make you feel that protection. And I think it's also, another part of the protection ritual. And I don't know if this makes sense to you, but it's making sure you don't go in a location fearful. And if you are, don't speak it. Do not speak that I'm nervous to be here by myself, or I'm nervous to do anything. Right.
Not only that,
don't give them that power.
You have to go in with the right intentions, of course, but never go in sick. Never go in with back or neck pain, which is really difficult for me because I have degenerative disc disease, so I'm always in pain for my back and my neck.
Me too. I have that as well.
It's the worst. I hate it. Especially the neck because it gives me headaches and migraines.
You should see the amount of heating pads that I sleep with at night. It's wild.
Yeah. So I've always been told, like, if you have back pain or neck pain, that's a chink in your armor.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it easier, especially the neck, for something to jump in and attach to you. Feeling sick, having depression and anxiety. If you're having some kind of anxiety or depressive episode, don't go investigate.
Yeah, they'll attach onto that.
You can't form your bubble, and even if they don't attach to you, they can attach to your energy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard to get rid of because you don't have that wall up to protect yourself because it's not up here.
Mm-hmm.
This is wrong right now. You can't focus on you. And
I think
you'll get something nasty.
The greatest piece of advice that anybody's given on the show is do not go in depressed. Like that. No. That right there is like huge, absolutely huge, because your guard is completely down.
It is. Well, and if you're really depressed, you could be wanting to join the other side a little too much. And you might be inviting stuff in because you're like, well, screw it. I'm just going to go home and kill myself. Come on, attach to me, whatever.
Yeah.
You could invite something nastier than a spirit.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying demon, the big D is a bad word in the paranormal right now because of YouTube, but there are other things besides demons that you have to watch out for.
So I don't believe demons are bad. I am a witch, so I don't believe demons are bad. I think religion definitely has a very big part of the fear that people have, you know. But It's just there's a lot of things that could attach to a person depending on your mental state. Like a lot of like different elementals and all that jazz. And it's just
Oh yeah.
ugh.
Yeah. Well, and if you have a long-term depression issue, years, you could also manifest things yourself. You can manifest negative entities that grow off of your negativity or depression
Correct.
to the point to where they can almost act autonomously without you. Like they still have to feed off of you. You're their battery. And I've had a lot of private residential investigations where we had to deal with this stuff. People that are suppressing issues that they need to go to therapy and work out, but they're sitting on it themselves. They're like, I got this, I can handle this. And then they get depressed. And then they just conjure up this gross blackness. And then it starts like attacking people and throwing stuff. And it's like, there's a ghost in my house and he's pissed. No,
not really.
it's not. Are you dealing with something right now? Yeah. Okay. We should have a talk.
Yeah. Between that and the conscious collective of people believing or, saying that there's something there, you can create it. Just like, especially with EVPs, you can literally have a group of people think a word, think it in their head and have it come across on the EVP. So if you are laser focused on a person or you're on a word, it will come through on an EVP within seconds.
Yep.
I was actually in a thing with Brian Kano when he did that. He had us all thinking bacon, and I'd be damned if it didn't come through the EVP. Bacon.
Yep. I've done that as well.
I wonder if that's the issue at the cabin, Ryan.
I mean, it could be. We've been having a certain name come through on the voice, on the spirit box and all the different apps and stuff. And it
like you don't get too much energy to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's the thing. We hear the name, but there is another name that we say, Melissa, that we don't hear as much. And Melissa was the main reason we're all there in the first place. Without giving too much away, we had a certain person come and try to perform a curse on the property. She showed up, lit some candles, and something spooked her, and she didn't finish what she was doing. But apparently she did enough that whenever we go to investigate in the Brick Rancher or anywhere in the woods or whatever, we get this person's name, and it's coming, run. She brought us here, stuff like that, and
like
Melissa
we found this stuff in the back of the woods. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, we found the candles and stuff in the back of the woods.
In the back of the woods.
Yeah.
And who knows what she invited in could be attached to that stuff. And especially because she left it there. Now it's like, well, I'm here. Now what do I do?
The activity is picked up, and I don't think she was able to finish what she started, but there's still stuff there, and it's definitely picked up out there for sure. But when we first started investigating out there, this young girl named Melissa was murdered by her brother back in 1979 in the Brick Rancher. And, we say her name a lot. As, said it was reason to go out there to investigate. She kind of brought us out there. And we've gotten this girl's name, the girl with the candles, a lot more than we've gotten the name Melissa.
And it has said so much stuff. Like it is literally painting a story.
Sure.
What has transpired.
Sure.
So it's not like we're making up anything. Like it has literally told us the entire thing. Like it from start to finish.
They're probably upset.
Yeah.
And you guys are the only ones that will actually listen to them. Like, hey, I'm mad.
Someone needs
to hear about this. She brought us here and left us here. Help me get out of here. I need to go home, wherever home is.
Yeah.
Man. So it is crazy, all the stuff that is out there that people don't realize. They think, it's ghosts or demons. That's it. There's so much other stuff.
Much in between. So much in between. I'll give you an example. We were filming an episode of Expedition Entity at a place called the Roadhouse. Very old, late 1800s speakeasy. Well, started as a general store, then turned into a speakeasy during Prohibition. Was ran by the mob. Was had ties to Al Capone, so the mob, and then distribution of alcohol. And then in the late 1940s, a young woman was murdered. A young woman and a young man were murdered, and the last place they were seen alive was this building. And then it's a very convoluted story, but so we go to investigate it, and we're doing the interviews and all the stuff, and then we wrap the interview up in the basement because that was the last haunted location that the owner wanted to talk about, because they have this really weird mirror and people were seeing things in the mirror. So we're like, oh, we'll talk about it. Cool. As we're filming the interview, I'm back behind the camera, and then one of our investigators, Jen, was right next to me. And as we're watching, for some reason, we both just happened to look down, and a foot tall shadow, a tubular shadow, just goes out the doorway. And we're filming the interview, so we can't say anything. We'll mess the audio up. So we're just looking at each other like, ah, 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 ah. As soon as the camera cuts, because I'm not even thinking anymore. I just immediately go, cut. Oh my God, what was that? We're just freaking out, like, what did we just see? And stuff like that. So the following February, so it was probably the next like 6 or 8 months, I do an investigation with Chris Fleming. And I'm talking to Chris about it, and he goes, what did he tell me it was? I think he said it was a gnome. And I'm like, a what? Oh, like
I think of like the red hat, like David the Gnome or whatever.
No,
Yeah.
like are you freaking serious? And he's like, they're real. Like they're real.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no way. And he starts showing me stuff of like recordings where they're talking about imps and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, where the hell have you been to get this? He goes, oh, it's Scotland, Ireland. And I'm like, okay. So I start talking to Jen about it, and we're like, so Chris said that he thinks it was a gnome, and she goes, I think he's correct because I've been thinking about it, and what could that have been? And I'm like, okay, you know what? Maybe we encountered a gnome. So we're gonna add that onto my list of entities that I've experienced now. A gnome.
A gnome.
Yeah.
And apparently, according to Chris, those really weird things that like to crawl on ceilings of buildings, those are imps, especially in tragic locations where dark things have happened. And I'm like, well,
good to know.
That makes a lot more sense than a ghost, because why would a ghost want to crawl on the ceiling?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to crawl on the ceiling.
Crawlers or whatever, but
yeah, because like I've seen a crawler at St. Albans, and it wasn't threatening at all. It wasn't like, it was just one of those where I saw it, and my friend in front of me, I saw her tilt her head up, and we're like, oof, well, I'm just gonna keep on walking.
They just
doing over there, and you just keep
away
on
they go. But it's like, well, why would a ghost crawl on the ceiling?
Right.
But I mean, why would an imp crawl on the ceiling at the same time? But it's like, he's like, this stuff's real. So it's not just ghosts and demons. There is so much in the middle there, and things that are so old. Like you brought up elementals. Elementals don't have an age.
Nope.
They just are. And here in Illinois, we have a lot of Indian burial grounds.
Yep.
And almost every single one of them has an elemental on it, and it is so annoying to encounter them.
Yeah.
Because you'll just be having a great time talking to the spirits, and all of a sudden, impending dread. Yeah. It's like, oh, we pissed it off. We got to go right now because it's going to get worse. And we have to leave immediately just because the elemental got mad.
Well, yeah, and just because they can mess with you so much. I mean, I really think that's what people deal with at the cabin. They feed on your fear. Mm-hmm. They shapeshift to what they think you will understand. They do. They have all kinds of things. But it really, truly is. They're so old, and they were created to protect a place.
Right. There's like, a place in Broadhead, Wisconsin.
You harm. They think you mean harm.
Right. They're there to protect the spirits that you're trying to talk to.
Yep.
But there's a place in Broadhead, Wisconsin called Broadhead Manor. In the backyard of Broadhead Manor, which is an old middle school, 60,000 square foot middle school.
Mhm.
In the backyard is an Indian burial ground, just right there in the grass. So because of that, not only does this building have one elemental, it has two elementals.
Dang.
And they hang out in opposite sides of the building because all the investigators are in the middle of the building. So you can stay in the middle and you're fine. But if you start trying to take that stuff outside, they don't like that. They don't like that, and they're going to let you know they don't like that. And one of them is massive, just stories tall, and kind of tree-like, which is how Chris Fleming described him. Is very tree-like. And the other one is just mean. He's a jerk. He's just mean. So yeah, don't mess with these things.
No.
You know, talk to the people, the dead people. Talk to them. They're nice. They're nice people. They're good people. Unless they were a jerk in life, they're probably a jerk in death too. But otherwise, they're nice people.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I've heard about the elemental. Even if you look at like fairies, they're great, but if you start doing too much, then they expect too much, and when you don't do it, that's when they start causing
getting mischievous and causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah, I'm like you. I was not sure. I mean, fairies I always kind of was okay with. I took a class with Cindy Kaza, and Dave Schrader came and he taught, and it was just paranormal theory. And he started talking about gnomes and trolls and explain. And I'm sitting there going, "What? Here's somebody that I think I trust him. I had never. I'm feverishly writing, but there's so much we don't understand. I mean, I think the only thing we all understand is that whatever an elemental is, it was created by somebody for protection. Period.
Well, if you think about it like this, what we can see and hear is so tiny on the entire spectrum. I mean, a visible light spectrum, we can see a little bit into IR. We can see the color of the bulbs. That's about it. We can see a tiny bit into UV. If it's the right wavelength, we can kind of see that purple cast, right? But there's so much on both sides of the visible spectrum that we just can't see at all.
Yeah.
And we have no way of seeing. Same with sound. There's so much that we just can't hear. And it's like, well, why can't we see these things? Because they probably don't exist in this part of the spectrum. They're probably over here or over there. And we don't align. And maybe that's why sometimes we can see ghosts, because they're probably right about there. And sometimes they come this way and other times they go that way.
Yeah.
So when I don't know who brought it up. I can't remember who brought it up, but when you're talking about, I think it was Rhonda saying, they were made for protection. Think about all of the houses that have negative energy from people's negative energy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you imagine the stuff that you create from your will, like what you want it to be, and then it's there? You know what I mean? Or if it's just wild. It's incredibly wild what is out there.
Sure. And
you also like intentions and stuff.
You also got to think like right now, there's some bad stuff going on, but this is pretty peaceful times.
Yeah.
This
is
pretty peaceful.
Created, it was not peaceful.
It was not peaceful. If you go the Native American side of things with the totems and elementals, they were constantly at war with each other, constantly killing each other, constantly battling. And I could go and gather and go hunting and whatnot, but I had to keep an eye out for a random party of other Native Americans that are my rival tribe that have no qualms whatsoever of wiping us out completely.
Yeah.
They don't care.
Yeah.
And it's like during,
and then look at the white man, then us.
That right. So you have this really tragic time where all these bad things are happening. Is that what's feeding into these elementals that are now created from the energy we're expelling during these tragic times? And it's like, hey, you're here. Can you watch these dead people that were just tragically murdered by a bunch of white dudes with smallpox blankets? And now it hates everybody.
Do you think with Facebook and social media, being able to communicate with each other more readily, there is a lot more belief in elementals and all these different beings than there was probably like 50 years ago.
Absolutely.
Do you think that's
absolutely
helping them come back? Well, I guess they've always been there, but if you don't notice them, is it
So you got to imagine 50 years ago, which when I think 50 years ago, I think 1950.
Me too. It's probably like
it's
1970 or whatever,
not.
but
it's the 70s now.
That makes me feel
Why?
really bad.
So even still, the 1970s, they didn't talk about the paranormal. It was super hush hush. If you deal with somebody from the 70s today, it's really difficult to get them to open up sometimes because they still have that stigma. So, and that's just the paranormal with ghosts. Trying to get them to rationalize something other than ghosts, it'd be like pulling teeth.
Telling my grandma gnomes exist probably would not go over well.
Exactly.
No.
Grandma, guess what I found out today?
That's right.
Yeah,
they'd be like,
gnomes are real and they're
Leprechauns.
scary. But sometimes you can't see them and they look like little foot tall shadows darting across the floor and it scares the crap out of you. But
it's really like Google elementals. Try to get information on it. Try to get information on element. It's not easy.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
out
there is some stuff out there, but
Not
it's
a
like
lot.
how reputable is the source?
Yeah.
Like who am I listening to, and are they regurgitating something else someone else has written, or is this something they've experienced? I could never write on this stuff. I've written a couple books now, and this is just not my wheelhouse to write in. But if Chris Fleming or Dave Schrader wrote a book about this kind of stuff, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I'd believe that, I'd read that. But it's like Cindy Lou Who is going to write a book about elementals. Who?
Exactly.
And why am I believing you? So that's that scrutiny that's supposed to be in the paranormal, but sometimes doesn't exist anymore.
And the only thing close you can find, which makes it even more like, do I believe that, is if you go look at Scandinavian or Irish or Scottish or German, like folklore books.
Folklore.
You'll start, but it's called folklore.
Right.
It's kind of like, well, is it not possible it existed and that's why they wrote about it?
Well, I think that's entirely possible. You have people that in many ancient civilizations making all these different carvings of things that shouldn't exist, like dragons. Why do we have carvings of dragons that are 500 years old? They had to have seen it, otherwise they wouldn't know how to carve it.
You know what I don't understand is that there's multiple countries that have the exact same depictions of these types of things
on the other side of the world.
There's no way that they would have known. You know what I mean? Like, scientists are just trying to tell us, oh no, they were just using their imagination. Bullshit.
Were they though? Were they?
Exactly. I mean, we've already proved that most of them were smarter than any of us. We still haven't figured out how they built the pyramids, right?
So there are a lot of really good explanations on that one.
Yeah, but I mean,
you have the rolling log theory, which is entirely plausible. With enough logs of thick enough dimension, you could roll one of those massive blocks and then just keep adding the logs in front, and you'd be surprised how far you can move that block, especially if you have enough manpower.
What about uphill?
If you have enough manpower. But the Egyptians were very well versed and skilled in pulleys and levers and counter levers. So we're talking about massive structures. Some of the largest structures in the world at the time were these pyramids. Would it have been very difficult for them to construct a tower big enough to transfer some of the weight through pulleys and different counterbalances to be able to lift this stuff up?
What about Stonehenge?
So there was a theory on Stonehenge, but I don't remember what it was. My favorite one is like the helicopter landing for hospitals. That's like the Stonehenge for UFOs. Like that one's my favorite. Another one is it has to do with the material of the stones, or what was originally on or in the stones way back when that has now been stolen or degraded away, as being an energy conduit where it's circular and it funnels the energy in for some kind of spirit work. That one I believe. That one could be plausible.
Because they have people that are buried all around Stonehenge, like the actual structure of it. Like they have high-ranking people
Sure.
that they dug up and they found. I don't know if they've moved them or not, but
well, here's the other question. Stonehenge could have also been a temple,
mm-hmm.
but with the same purpose, a spiritual place that the energy was collected in the center so that they could do funeral rites or commune with spirits or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you've got high-ranking people buried around it, that's not all that dissimilar to a graveyard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, when you were poor, you didn't get the fancy burial. You got thrown out into sea, or you got put in a canoe and you set on fire, whatever. The fancy stuff was for like the bigwigs. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I feel like there's a lot of people that are trying to like scientifically prove it. Be like, oh no, it was for this, it was for that. And it's like, you weren't there. So let's keep the theory for now until something concrete comes out.
Yeah. I mean, some things science can't explain. And like, plus back then they were so connected to the earth.
They were.
And
yeah, everybody walked around without shoes on. How connected are we where we can't even walk outside of our house without flip-flops on because the ground's too hot?
Yeah. Step on a pebble, you cry like I cry. Oh my God. Ow,
right.
Ow,
And like it pierced your skin, but it was a round little pebble. We're totally disconnected. Totally disconnected.
Yes, we are.
But
I think we are getting back to where at least we're trying to be more connected. Don't think ever be as connected as they were because of just our lifestyles.
Yeah, no,
at least we're making an effort now compared to 50 years ago and going back to that time.
Yeah. You have some people that are choosing to be connected because they know. That's some of your psychics, some of your witchy people, they know they have to ground.
Mm-hmm.
And that means taking off your shoes and stepping in some grass.
Jess and I did today.
Yeah. Like some people know, and they call it grounding, and not everybody does it. Some people do it without knowing they're grounding. Some people are like, yeah, when I'm home, I just like walking in the grass without any shoes on. Like, oh, does that make you feel better? Like, yeah, it makes me feel really good. I'm like, because you're grounding.
Right. Look at little children who always run around barefooted. It doesn't hurt their feet. Theirs are actually more tender than ours.
Right. Well, that and people are developing flat feet because they're not running around with their shoes off.
Yep.
So we're evolving in a way to incorporate the things we put on our feet now, and it's not good for us. We really should be, barefoot. That guy Larry. Yeah, that's me.
I can't believe we were almost at an hour. Like we didn't even get to the things I wanted to ask you.
That just means we've got to bring him back again for another show.
Sure.
Yes, because I totally want to talk about AI and the paranormal.
Yes. So those are our new talking points for this year. AI and the paranormal, and then the dark side of social media and the paranormal community.
I started reading that book today. So
yeah, it's a short little book. It's enough to get the discussion started.
But even beyond that, I would say the Black Hawk, Ghost of Black Hawk.
Yeah.
When you talk about whenever you talk about Native Americans, I'm in.
Sure. And the Black Hawk War of 1832 was one of the final events that really propelled the Trail of Tears. It was the last major skirmish of the Native Americans versus the United States government, where Black Hawk was defeated, he was captured, and then he was basically made a political prisoner and he was paraded around the country as the big chief that was defeated by the white man. And then eventually let go and forced to retire and all that stuff. But after that, like there weren't any major real skirmishes for quite a long time until further out west. So, and not only that, but you had some major players in the Black Hawk War.
Yes.
There's this really young captain. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. His name's Abraham Lincoln. He was in the Black Hawk War. This other dude who kind of gave Lincoln some troubles later on in life, his name's Jefferson Davis. They were on the same side of the Black Hawk War, funny enough.
Oh, wow.
And there are a couple other ones, right? So, it's funny how these people keep coming back up in history again. But they start with these little tiny skirmishes, these little tiny events. And, Lincoln was only a captain for a super short amount of time. The majority of the war, he was a private, and then his company disbanded, and then they got back together. He was a captain, and then, he's kind of all over the place. But for the Black Hawk War, and he's even admitted this, he said the only blood that he shed was because of the mosquitoes. Anytime he would show up to the two major battles his company showed up to, he was always a day late. So his company's job was to bury the bodies. Yay. So and then that was his part to play.
You don't really think about Abraham Lincoln being a part of a war. You think of him, being a lawyer or whatever, then president. But
yeah, he was in the Illinois militia. Yep, I think he was in Sangamon County, which is Springfield's county seat, is in Sangamon County, or Illinois' county seat. No, Illinois' capital is in the county seat, Sangamon County. So yeah, like these little tiny things all start to add up, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, that Lincoln dude? Yeah, there's a statue of him on this battle site in the middle of nowhere talking about how he was a captain in this war that nobody seems to know about. But let me tell you, after almost 200 years, these guys have a lot to say. A lot to say. Especially for the Battle of Stillman's Run, which was the battle that started the war. There are a lot of renditions on how the battle happened, including by the commanding officer, Major Isaiah Stillman. He gave a fanciful account of exactly what happened to make it seem like he was overwhelmed. There were thousands of them, and they surprised them, and all this stuff that didn't happen. And then some of his soldiers went and said, "Yeah, no, that's not what happened. This is what happened." It turns out that Major Isaiah Stillman was the first one to lead the retreat back to Fort Dixon. He was at the front of the charge, away from the battle, and all of his men at the battle site, the Stillman's Run battle site, all think he's a coward. And they will openly admit that with vigor and gusto. They will call him a coward. So quite entertaining, because you can't get that story anywhere else but from the dead.
Yeah.
That's one of the cool things about investigating and doing the stuff that we do, is learning these stories and learning that stuff that has been kind of forgotten to the past. And
there's a story in the Battle of Stillman's Run is what caused the war to start. So Stillman had his campsite just off of the hill where the battle ended, I guess you could say. It was in a prairie, where in the middle of the prairie there was kind of a hilltop with trees, and they kind of set everything in the hilltop and sprawled out down the hill. When Blackhawks scouts received a notice that he was there, they sent word up to Blackhawk and said, "Hey, there's a military force down here." And Blackhawk sent emissaries down to surrender. And there was a lot of shenanigans that day. There was a rainstorm, and the whiskey wagon got stuck. So they had to drink all the whiskey so that they wouldn't leave the whiskey for the Native Americans. And then they filled their canteens up with whiskey and then continued the march. So by the time they got to camp, they were half crocked. Everyone was buzzing. So whether they were too drunk to be able to negotiate with the emissaries, or nobody spoke Sauk, for some reason the emissaries it didn't happen. And then before they could ultimately surrender, a second group of natives were spotted just outside of the wood line. And the militia thought it was a trap, that the Native Americans were going to do something. So they executed one of the emissaries right there in the camp. Like, pow, dead. So we were always wondering, okay, well, I want to find that camp. I want to find where that emissary died, and I want to see if we can speak to somebody about it. So we asked the guys that died on Stillman's Hill and said, where was your camp at? And they said, northeast. And I'm like, okay, is it that direction? No. That direction? No. That direction? Yes. That direction. And lo and behold, we found a farmer's field where in the center of the field, there's a hill with a bunch of trees on it. And we started on Google Earth and we're like, that's kind of in the straight line that the ghosts told us to go. All right, let's go check it out at least. So we go there and we do the SB7, the dowsing rods and all that stuff. And yeah, there's ghosts there. And they said, yeah, the camp was right here. We rode through it. Like, okay. Well, maybe these are different ghosts. Maybe these aren't the right ghosts. So my partner Dan goes, what did the Native Americans do to the men after they killed them? And then the SB7 goes, scalped them.
Well, shoot.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean,
right time frame.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we attempted to metal detect. When you're riding through with over 400 people, through your campsite, you're gonna damage stuff. Buttons are gonna fall off. Who knows what that gets trampled into the dirt and whatnot. Sadly, we didn't find anything that could concretely tie us to, yes, that was the campsite, because this button from 1832 says so. But the paranormal activity in the middle of a farmer's field was pretty compelling. So it just kind of added to the story now. Like, I think we found this site because a ghost told us where to look.
That's awesome.
That's so cool, man. Helpful ghost.
Cool.
Right. Giving directions like a ghost GPS.
Absolutely. And I'm out of the science game. I don't need to prove this exists. But isn't that a really cool story?
Yeah.
It is.
And that's the thing. It's a story, but if you don't have the trust that people build up from the fact that you do try to debunk stuff and you do try to find a scientific reason for stuff to happen, people tend to believe you more than they would believe someone who just thinks everything's paranormal. And it's good to have that trust where you can tell a story like that and be like, oh yeah, I definitely believe that happened, compared to like, oh yeah, all right, whatever. And
there's a lot of times we'll use K2s for ITC. We'll have one over here for yes, one over here for no, and they're far apart. And we'll set them down and we'll get no readings at all. We'll make sure there's no power conduits or anything crazy next to them. And all of a sudden you start answering questions and they start lighting up to yellow. Like, okay, nobody has cell phones, nobody has walkie-talkies, nobody has anything near them. There's no power lines near them. Okay, I can't explain why those are hitting a very strong reading on a K2. In direct answer to questions, like immediately after, like, hey, so is there anyone here to talk with us? Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. I am super sorry, but I think we're gonna have to cut this interview because I want to get into a lot more stuff. And it's just we'll be talking here all night long, and we need to cut this ready for part 2.
Sure.
And it's going to be Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us. If you could let people know how to get in touch with you or follow you or stalk you, whatever you want to call it. Throw out all your social medias and stuff.
So I guess I'm one of the old school ones. Is I'm really only on Facebook. I have an Instagram.
That's easy.
It's automatically posted to Instagram for the pictures I post and stuff like that. I don't interact a whole lot on Instagram. I'm the most active on Facebook. I don't do Twitter. I don't do Snapchat. I have a TikTok. I rarely do anything with it. Everything's through Facebook. So you just look me up, Larry Eissler III. There it is. And I got the blue check mark, so you know exactly who I am because of the blue check mark. Give me a follow, and then I'm constantly posting every day, all day, sharing podcasts and events and projects that I'm working on and documentaries and all sorts of wild stuff.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And showing us the symbol for gnome.
Like, it's universal. Everybody knows what this is.
I had the theme song for David the Gnomes in my head playing while you were talking about.
Yeah, no, it's like gnome.
Yeah.
No questions asked.
That's you can't once you see that there, it's pretty obvious what it is.
Right, that's a gnome.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon. We'll probably try to get you on next year.
Perfect. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Larry.
That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that conversation.
That was.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the paranormal hangover.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I mean we go out there every Tuesday. I never feel like this.
For anybody that wants to see like what happened at the cabin today, definitely go on to the Cabin on 360's Facebook page because it has everything. Also, Beyond the Badge Paranormal was going to post a bunch of stuff on their YouTube page. So go subscribe to them and watch their stuff from today because it is wild. I'm
interested to see if Rhonda can watch it when tomorrow sometime to see what she thinks.
I watched some of it today. But I mean, it's kind of hard too, because like you were talking about the audible growl, it did not come through in what you recorded, Brian. But I heard it come through on Jason's phone when y'all were replaying it. So okay.
I listened back.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you're right. When I listened back on my recording, I didn't
hear it. But when he played it on the recording, I heard it.
Yeah.
So
yes, the Cabin on 360.
Yes, the Cabin on 360, and then Beyond the Badge Paranormal on YouTube.
Yeah, that first I thought it was just because we were the toilet was running upstairs, then we were in the basement and started hearing this like whooshing sound.
It was so weird. It sounded like it was like whooshing, like a washer was.
Yeah, washing machine, like on or dishwasher on rinse.
Hear it, like pounding on the wall, like it was like somebody was like punching the wall over and over and over again. I was like, "That's Dennis. That's Dennis messing with us." And Ryan was like, "I'm going out there." And Jason and Ryan start to go up the stairs, and then all of a sudden you hear the roar, and we were like, "What was that?" I just heard the growl.
And then Sarah gets scratched. It was it was a lot. So I'm gonna go down the list of all the people who hung out with us tonight. Thank you, Nathan Hardister, Lisa Milne, Lisa Marie, Taryn Kerper, Paranormal Rockdown, Phil Payette, Emily C. Warner, Lady Mystic Lightworker, Beyond the Badge Paranormal, and Nikki Cameron. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate you guys. What do you guys have coming up on the Orion Effect?
Our friends at Hill City Paranormal.
Oh yes, that's gonna be a lot of fun. That's gonna be a fun show. I will be hanging out.
And I don't think we're like talking about them. We're talking kind of about like cosmic law and stuff like that again. So and theories and stuff like that with Sean. Like that's gonna be fun.
That will be a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Speaking of fun conversations, tomorrow morning, live from the Cabin on 360, I'll be hanging out with Howie talking about what's going down in the paranormal and supernatural weird community. Is going to be a lot of fun. Grab your coffee. Join us for a spirited conversation about all weird stuff. Tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. And next week, September 17th, we have got Lost Souls of East Tennessee joining us.
I still need the dates that we have open because we have another Lost Souls.
Oh yes, that's Emily C. That's Emily C.
Yeah, out
Warner's
of North
group.
Carolina. They want to join us, and I got a couple other people. So send me what we have open, so we can see if we can get them in there.
I will.
And then tonight we met, Sam and Mike.
Oh yeah, we need to get them on the show too.
Yeah, get them on too. They were a lot of fun.
We start booking for January here pretty soon. I think we're getting filled up for the rest of the year. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I don't know if it's going to be a rare thing or not, but we definitely love having you on. And
it is horrible.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll get you on. We'll get you on when you can. And we'll hold the fort down for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. We will be back here next Tuesday night, 9 o'clock.
Yay.
Same freaking awesome time.
Same freaking awesome channel.
Hell yeah. Guys, have a good night. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.